Okay, thank you all for your patience. We are starting the presentation now. So, like I mentioned, welcome to this short session of a webinar um, titled "Streamlined Concrete Design for Large Structure." Um, my name is Tayen, and I will be your host today. So, before we get started, here is a little the agenda, what we're going to be covering during today's session. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about the S-frame suite, where it lands, so everyone is in a little bit of context. And all through this workflow, we're going to be talking about S-frames multi-story designer, or MSD for short. So after doing a quick introduction to the different options that you have to design concrete structures with our S-frame tools, then we are going to showcase the full workflow, starting with an S-frame model, how to set it up correctly, and then how to export those results uh, to switch into our MSD, into the multi-story designer, to produce some preliminary concrete design groups for setup and for preliminary results. After that, we're going to jump into the refinement, the detailing of the rebar for the design groups, and we are going to be generating the SCO files through a batch process with all the power of S-Concrete's code checking capabilities. Then we will see how to export these results and how to see the design reports that we have after all of this work of the different options for reporting, etc. And then at the very end, we're going to have questions and answers session, short, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many questions we have. So yeah, let's get to it. So the first part, just like I mentioned, to get everyone a little bit in context. I know that many of the people that are attending today already use some of our solutions, but in general, Altair's AEC solutions have this code-based analysis and design approach. So in this set of tools, we have many different options for customization and for analysis and design. So everything starts with a structural analysis that you can import from different third-party options like Autodesk tools, from Tekla, from ETABS, which this workflow that we're going to be presenting also applies to ETABS. Also, we can import models from StatPro, etc. So once that we have a structural analysis, we can take these results into the tools for design, for the design of the elements, such as foundations, steel members, timber members, the calculations of the geometric properties of different sections, and what we are going to be talking about today, concrete, right? So we have tools for concrete design and detailing, right? Now I see there is a hand that is raised. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat so we can see them and attend to it. Yeah, nothing yet in the chat. So if, like I mentioned, if you have questions, like I see there is a hand that it's raised, please type in your questions in the chat so we can see to it during the session or at the end. Okay, so now that we talked a little bit about where S-frame and how the tools interact with them, we will take a look at the different options that you have to design concrete structures with S-frame, right? So we have three different approaches to the concrete section design in S-frame. So the first one would be when you have your model, you have your element, say it is a column in this case, you can go straight to that element, right click into it, and after running an analysis, of course, right click into it, and you will have these options show up for the integrated concrete design option. This is assuming that you already assigned the correct some materials and some sections, right? So this is integrated into S-frame. Then, like I mentioned, you have the integrated concrete design that will allow you to open up the S-concrete interface directly from any one of the members. This uses S-concrete's capabilities member by member, right? And the third option that we are going to be covering today, it's the S-concrete multi-story designer, or MSD for short. It uses S-concrete's design engine in the back. It has different interface, but especially, or what makes it very special and what differentiates it is that it can run checks for sections in batch mode for multi-story buildings, right? So this is what we're going to be focusing on today. So after exploring or talking a little bit about the different options, we need to start with an S-frame model, right? So the S-frame model that we have prepared, or the way that we are just going to go through the workflow while working with S-frame, essentially goes through these four steps. One is the section assignment, which basically means to add the correct concrete sections to the members that we want to design, be it a column, braces, a beam, or walls, right? Then for this case, also we need to have the wall integration piers that comprise the concrete core. We need to define the story IDs. SRAM has the ability to define different IDs, and this is useful later in our workflow because we need to define the different IDs so the multi-story designer can read them correctly. After this, once that we have set up our model in the way that we want to, we need to export all of these data to a compatible format, an MDB, or Microsoft database. In this Microsoft database file, we need to include all of the member forces, the wall forces, the pier forces, and all of the input data. Okay, so once that's this is the first thing that we are going to do today. So let me just open over here the model that I was talking about. If I render this model, you can see that I have some concrete slabs into the different stories over here. If I switch to the lateral view, you can see the different stories and the concrete core that we have here in the middle. Also, if I look into the different sections that I have assigned for this, I can see that these sections are, we have two different concrete sections. We have the concrete columns that are in blue and the concrete braces that we have over here, right? Also, if I switch back to my isometric view and quit my rendering, I will see that in the concrete core, I have the different wall sections, the different piers that we need, that we're going to be using now. It's important when we, well, also the materials. This is concrete, all 35 MPa, right? So all of this has to be assigned, the material, the section. And when talking about the sections, I just want to mention that it's important that the sections that we have are into the same supported concrete sections that we want to use. By this, I mean that they have to be regular geometry and they can be supported, or they are supported in S concrete. For this case, we have some circular columns for this. And we have these concrete braces. If I go here to the concrete, we can see what type of section it is, right? After making sure that we have this defined, I also want to make sure that we have our stories defined. I'm going to switch to lateral view so you can all clearly see that we have defined the ground floor, and from there we go 2, 3, 4, all the way up to number 10, right? So the next step for this is running an analysis. So go to run, analysis, linear static, and here we have our solver. You can see that it's running all the different load cases. We have 12 different load cases. It's running a clean analysis. So just click on enter. And now we will see very quickly the different results that we have available for this model. Just very quickly, we have these 12 different load cases, all for wind. And we can see here the deflections. We can also take a look at the reactions, and most interestingly, the different shell counters on our concrete core, right? So if we switch through the different load cases, we will see the reactions on each one of them. So all of this is important because all of those forces and all of these inputs, it's going to be very valuable for us, and it's something that we need to include into our export file, right? So we can continue visualizing the different results that we have. But once that we are satisfied with the analysis, once that we have all the information that we require from it, what comes next is exporting this file, this model into a readable file, right? Something that the multi-story designer can read. So if we go back to our geometry tool, to our geometry window, we can go to file and then export, and we have different formats over here. The one that is interesting for us in this workflow, like I mentioned, it's the MDB file, or Microsoft database file. So I'm just going to click here, then it's going to ask me to save it into a particular into the location that I want. I want to replace this one. And then after selecting the location, I will get this dialog. Now, this dialog is important because here I need to select the information that it's going to be exported into the database, right? So first off, I want to include all of my structure and all of my results, right? Then, like I mentioned, we need to include all the input data. Everything that has been inputted into the model needs to be here. Then you can pick and choose from the different results. So you could go through all of the results from all of the load combinations or all of the load cases. You can pick and choose, like I mentioned, from them. Because I don't have any load combinations, I could just go without load combinations and only go to my load cases. But that is, in this case, I'm going to go with both. And now the results that I need to have are the member forces, the wall forces, and the story forces, right? This is what is going to be relevant for us in this case. So after picking this, I just need to click on OK. And right now, S-Frame is exporting this information into a Microsoft database file. Now, this can take a couple of seconds depending on how large the file is. Right now, it has just finished doing it, and I'm going to showcase to you the file that we have over here. This is a file that we just created. So if I open it, I can see over here the different data that has been exported. So if I click on any of these, I will get all of these spreadsheets with the information about the floor data, the period data, the different joint loads, the member data, the results for the story forces, for example, and the wall forces, if we have any. So there are many uses for this format. From here, we can export it into many other different software, many other uses, because at the end of the day, it's an access database. So any tool that it's able to read this type of format can do a lot with it, right? So after we do that, we are going to jump where we have procured that file. And the next part is taking our MDP file into the S-Concrete multi-story designer, right? So once that we take it into the multi-story designer, we are going to perform two specific tasks. One is to import the selected elements from the S-frame model that we just exported. We're going to bring that information into the multi-story designer. We have the ability to filter, etc. And after that, we're going to specify the initial reinforcement for the preliminary results. We can do this by different section types, right? So first thing that we need to do is to open a new S-Concrete session over here. I have it already open. This is a default file. So whenever I open S-Concrete, I just need to click on run, and right here we have the option to load the S-Concrete multi-story designer, right? So I'm just going to click here, and that is going to show into my first screen. So I'm just going to drag it over, and then all I need to do is to point the input path into the MDP file that I just created, right? I already have it here loaded, so I don't have to search for anything else. We just need to point it to the MDP file, and then we have it's recognizing that it has items for columns, beams, braces, and some piers, right? So we can tick to select or deselect the different items that we want to import, right? And in this particular file, we have pier shapes. So in that concrete core that we have different piers, up to 20 different piers that we have with a seawall type of section. So because we have different piers, we can group these S-frame piers. So if we click into the manage S-frame pier groups, we will have the option to create groups for these different piers. So I'm going to create a new group, and I'm going to call this the West pier, right? And now I am going to select from the 20 different piers only the non-par piers to add it into the West group. So I go into the non-par groups, and I add them into this one group, and then I create another one for the East group. Sorry, to the East pier. Click on OK, and I just select the rest of the piers. I switch them over here, and now I have the West pier with the non-par and the East pier with the par groups, right? So once I've done that, I just click on OK, and now as you can see, I have two groups, the east pier and the west pier, with all of these different stories, and that it remains the C wall type of shape that we we had at the beginning. So click on OK. And after that, or before that, doesn't really matter, I can set the different filters to what I want to import. So we have 4 different sections for columns, beams, and braces. If I want to, I can just tick here and deselect them completely, or pick one by one which I want to bring into the multi-story designer. I can do exactly the same with the different pier sections. I'm going to take them all, and I also can do that with the 12 different load combinations that we saw earlier. We know that all of them are wind, but if they were other type of loads like seismic or other, we could select that from here as well. So once that I do that, I am going to go into the next button, and what the multi-story designer interface is doing right now is that it's processing and it's importing all of that information in the access database, and selecting the different and giving us the information that we need for the design of the preliminary results. So in here, we can create the design standards that our project is going to be regulated for. Now, this is an important step, because if you think carefully and you select the design standards that you want for your project, you can save time when you edit each design group down the road. So it's important to select the correct one. So from here, you can change your design code. I can continue with the American code 2014, but if I had another one, I could change it. And I can also select a different bar type. So like if I have custom bars or the American or the British, we can change it from here. So I'm going to switch to a Canadian bar type. And then when I look into the different section types that we have, the columns, the beams, and the walls, I can basically set my minimums and design the standards. So I would like to set minimum vertical bar diameter for my columns to 25 m in the bar size, and I can also do that with my walls. Now, like I mentioned, you could fine tune each one of the design groups later, but if you select the value that you want um, to regulate your design groups, it's easier to do it from here, because you know that they are going to be created with preliminary design standards. So once that I've done that, I can apply all of my design standards to the selections, and now I get this message that says concrete design sections have been created based on the specific design standards that we selected, right? So that is the next part of the workflow. The next part is to take a look at the preliminary results. Sorry, I think I switched one. Yes, sorry. So once that we have that, we have the preliminary results for each of our sections types, right? So we have been doing the columns, the 3 different columns, one beam, and the walls, right? So as you can see, we have here design summary, these DCRs that are different for each one of the design groups. We also have the wall data over here, and it's important to mention that these preliminary results are based on the loads on each one of the elements from the frame analysis. So we could open each one of these design sections. We click here on the wall form button, and we can see this more detailed information regarding each one of the design group sections. We have this C section type, and over here we have the information about the DCRs, and we have the horizontal bar diameter, and we have over here the full name, and we have the shape. We can change all of this information directly from here. And like I mentioned, this is for all the design groups, but later down the road, we're going to break up these design groups by story for the walls, for example. So from here, we can, if we want to, run a code check directly with the S-Concrete design engine. And what it's doing right now is that it's running this code check, and it's going to give me the status like in S-Concrete, and it's also going to give me these messages that S-Concrete is famous for. So we already know that this section is not acceptable. It's not something that it's going to be working. So we could potentially add some changes. Now, this for the different sections that we have, we could also open a full S-Concrete file directly from here if we wanted to do that. I just open it into another window, and as you can see, it's exactly the same information, and we can run the full S-Concrete workflow directly from here. So we're going to come back here in a second. I just wanted to show you that this is applicable to all of the different sections, and all of the changes that we perform here are important, right? Now, this is what I wanted to do before, just talk you a little bit about the design and the refinement for each one of the design groups, right? So this is what we were seeing a little earlier. In these two different dialogues, we can refine the reinforcement, and we can change directly for each one of the design groups. We can specify also the different sections, and after we go back into the MSD, this next part, it's refining the details. We're going to produce some S-Concrete files for all of the section groups, and then we're also going to divide the different walls that we have into our story-based design groups. So we already talked a little bit about what these dialogues do, but we're going to see a little bit in more detail how the changes that we do are going to affect these preliminary results, right? So let's go back into our okay, let me just put S-Concrete in the box because I think it looks better. And then, okay, there we go. So, like I was mentioning before going into the slides, if we add any changes to this data, for example, right here, we have these DCRs, right, for our columns. And we have, for example, a raw vertical steel of 1%. So we can set this from 1% to 1.1%, and then we can click on update. And I want you to take a look at the different DCRs that we have over here. So I click on update, and the DCRs, the preliminary results, have been changed, right? So everything that we do over here, it's going to be seen in these preliminary results. Now, like I mentioned, once that we have, once that we are happy with our design standards and our preliminary results, the next step is to create, to generate the S-concrete file. So we click on the next button, now the ones that we are happy with that. And now, once again, we have the option to filter through the different SEO files that we want to create. So for this case, I'm going to create SEO files for all of our design groups. Now, when we do this by hand, this can be a time-consuming process, and here is where the magic of the MSD it's shining, right? Because this makes this is easily done with the multi-story designer, and it also allows us to group our different sections together. We can later assign reinforcement details with this interactive interface, like we just showed. So we can select which ones we want to create. For this case, I want to go with the full batch. And I am interested in deleting my previous SEO files because I have been testing this. So I want to delete the previous SEO files and create new ones. I think I haven't mentioned this, but the SEO files is a standard S-concrete file. So whenever I talk about the SEO file, it's basically an S-concrete file. So I click here on create S-concrete files, and what it's basically doing is that it's creating files for each type of the section groups. So we have 3 section groups: walls, columns, and beams, and it has created here the section groups for walls, that it's the most populated. We have here the section groups for beams, and we have here the section groups for the different columns. So each SEO file or each S-concrete file represents a different section group. So if we take a look, for example, at here, the East Pier and West Pier concrete walls that we have, and we click on it, it's basically going to open up an S-concrete file that we can completely and we can fully edit, right? So that happens. Let me show you here. This is the file that was generated just a second ago. So after creating those files and directing it to our preferred location, we can jump into the next part, which is batch processing and report, right? So let me show you one more slide just to talk about what we are going to be doing in this next part. So it's basically the batch processing, code checking, and report generation options that the multi-story designer allows us to work with. So after generating these S-concrete files, we have the option to code check all of these S-concrete files that have been created, and then report in different ways what we have. We have visual reports, and then we also have this table-like report that summarize all of the information. Then we also have this PDF type report and the HTML schedule-like report. So we're going to take a look at how to create all these types of files. So let me just go back in here. So once that we have created all of these as concrete files that we have already done, we have this batch processing and reporting tile show up. Now, we can code check only, and we can also delete all the previous code check results in the member reports. This is important because if you have been doing different iterations, it's good to have it. So what I'm going to do is to run the S-concrete batch for all of the sections. What it's doing in the background is running with the S-concrete design engine for all of the different section groups that we have. And then we will have the option to generate the different results. So that's what it's doing right now. Of course, the larger the model that we have, or the larger number of files that we have, it's going to take more time. So now the batch run has completed. It took 29 seconds. So I click here on OK. And then I have this view code check results. And we have 3 different dialogues for each type of sections, right? So let's focus on the walls because that's where we have more information. So here we have the file name of each of the groups. We have the section name, and we have the stories if we have divided them. And we have the general results, if it's unacceptable, if it has any warnings, etc. So we have even here the messages. Now, this type of report can be exported into a CSV file, which can be useful if you are working with data sheets and databases. So we could create a CSV file with any of these information, right? Once I click on OK or cancel, these dialogues are closed. Now, I can also run the batch process utility, which is right here. And what this allows us to do is to create reports for the different sections that we have. Now it asks me to direct it to a folder, but I already have here selected the folder that I want to report on, which are the walls. And you can see here that it's telling me that the number of files in the folder is 4, so that's what the report is going to include, and the latest code check results that are available for me. This is at 7:38, so just 2 minutes ago. Now, here we have the ability to rerun the batch if we want to, and we also can take a look at the different reporting tiles, like the name and the report name of the file. But what I want to focus on right now is the report options. Here we can select what we want into this report, right? So once again, if we want to include all of our sections, like if we have available in the S-concrete files columns, we can pick and choose which checks and which requirements I want to include. So right now, I'm going to include all of them, but it's good for you to know that you can customize this report. So after that, I click here on create report, and then I am going to be presented with this report over here, concrete section codes. As you can see, the date is right now. And here I have a table of contents of all of the different or all of the 4 different sections that I have. So if I click in this hyperlink, I'm going to be able to take a look at the different messages for each one of the sections, right? So this is a very comprehensive report where you can see all of the different loads and the warnings and the messages and the requirement for each one of the sections. Now, like I said, this is fully customizable, right? Now, I also mentioned that it was important for us to have stories in here. Remember that we mentioned that stories from 0 to 10, but right now we are not reporting on that. So I'm going to go back into our design standards dialog, and I'm going to go to my walls. So as you can see, we have the east pier and the west pier, but these are my design groups. I want to create a different section for each one of the stories. So I'm going to tick here into the include the stories, and I have the option to pick and choose which stories I want to work with. In this case, I want to work with all of my stories, so I can just go here to each story and create a new set of data. As you can see, it has been added for each one of the stories. So this is the base, this is 1, 2, 3, etc. I don't need this one anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. And I am going to do the same with the West peers. I'm going to include stories, each story, and create this new data. I'm going to delete this one, and now I have all of these story by story sections. Now I'm going to click back on next, and I don't want my columns or my beams. I only want to focus on my walls, the east and the west. After this, I one more time create my S-concrete files, and then I'm going to run my code check on these S-concrete files. We have a couple of files. It has been created over here for each one of my stories into the east and the west pier. Let me take this away, and now I am going to run and the code check results that I have here for each one of the sections. And wait, sorry, I clicked out of it. Okay, sorry, I clicked. Okay, so now I'm going to create a different type of report for this. We have seen the different options, but I'm going to create a different type of report for this. So I'm going to go here to create report, and now we have different types of reports. If we click on the PDF, it's going to be a comprehensive report on each one of the sections for each one of the groups. So here we have the visual representation of these two different walls that we have in this file. And additionally, I can choose the HTML schedule-like report for the different sections. Like, so I am going to include the east and the west, design groups. I'm going to click here on create report, and looks like I did something. I probably didn't point it to the correct one. File 745. Section. I probably missed something. Batch. Did I do? West and east. Lead proof is 05. Or something. So I have them here for my east, west. Give me a second, everyone. Sorry. And well, we can exit. I'm not going to exit there. I'm just going to leave it running in the background. And well, it's just a summary of the multi-story designer capabilities. As you can see, it's a very powerful workflow that allows you to design your concrete elements very efficiently without having to do it one by one. You can create design groups and manage them easily, story by story or column by column, and you will get reports on each one of these design groups. Also, something good is that it uses concrete design technology that you already know. If you are using S-concrete or S-frame, it's basically the same type of reports that are very powerful, very transparent, something that we are known for. And well, it's available right now with the AEC Advanced Engineering Suite. So yeah, that was the last slide that I had for you. So let's jump really quickly into the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please type them into the chat here.